Hello and welcome to Rauta's Assassin's Creed Shadows stream. The plan is to continue where I left off yesterday, meaning some new area to be explored and all that. And once always the case being, there are no wrong kind of questions. Everything can be talked about, asked, and all that stuff.
Perfect timing, just got out of work.
Hello Dixon, that's very, very good timing. I just basically got just out of shower after working out and had a pretty damn good pizza just to take care of my deadlift session. So now that I'm all recharged with energy and all, I'm gonna make it count here. Roughly 1 hour plus something before heading to bed. A little bit earlier call tomorrow. So that's the reason why I'm a little bit earlier here as well. So anyway, there is no particular topic, of course, today, just the normal gaming and talking. And if things go as I want them to go, what do I think is the best pizza? Well, there is no particular style when it comes to ingredients, but I usually prefer rather thin crust rather than, say, those thicker ones, the pan pizzas and all. Hi Marcos. Yeah, early, just started.
新しい顔を見るのは良いものじゃ。港には誰もおらぬし、かつての賑わいも消えてしまったのでな。何故そのようなことに。
But usually, when it comes to pizza, I like to have a little bit hot sauce or jalapenos, maybe spicy pepperoni, stuff like that.
この乱世の最中ゆえ勢いづいておる。
民のためここは私にお任せください。
かたじけない。恩に着る。
What about you? What's your preferred kind of pizza, since you were asking? It seems I have so much new stuff to go through in this given area that it will take some time for me to figure out the whole new area.
海賊はこの地に救う疫病だ。海辺の民のために力を貸そう。
I like white sauce and a lot of garlic, maybe some ricotta.
Yeah, that sounds good. And very atypical pizza when it comes to Finland if we have white sauce and ricotta, but I mean, why the hell not? I don't really like to have too much veggies on my pizza. I'm more like a meat eater in that sense. But then again, I don't want full meat pizza either, so it's all about balance. Usually I want, you know, something like onions, garlic, stuff like that. And like I mentioned, some kind of a hot sauce is, of course, very much welcome. I also have a soft spot for things like feta cheese, you know, the Greek kind of stuff when it comes to my pizza. Like today I had this Mexican pizza, somewhat spicy, not much though, but you know, still. And that had like jalapenos, paprika, or bell pepper, like some people say. And hello, Jegulars. So I was having like paprika, jalapenos, feta cheese, and well, kebab meat was in this case the thing, which is not what I really prefer, but I usually just buy something off the list, off the menu, rather than go making it too complicated by choosing the toppings by myself. But yeah, it depends. Sometimes I change the things a little bit. I don't want to have my pizza too greasy either, so like if I already have like some salami or pepperoni, then it might be a little bit overkill to so if I'm like already have that stuff, maybe in that case. Uh-huh.
いかにして商人を操っておる。あやつらも悪の道に落ちたのか。軽々しく殺めるなとは言われたが、この
Well, early Samael is pretty decent, but to be honest, I don't feel the, you know, full hype. I never cared that much about even the early stuff.
I want to try it.
Hello, Freedom Frog. And I'm definitely into having too much sweet stuff on my pizza, like bananas, peaches, apricot, whatever you have.
Just sick, man.
Yeah, but I mean, I know some people who really like the kind of a... Yeah. Yes. That's what I mean, Markus. For me, it's about having hot sauce and then some meat on it.
鉄の手といえど茶会に出てのし上がろうとするあたりは他の商人と変わらんようじゃな。誠に今池と関わりある者ならとうに茶会に呼ばれておるはずじゃ。
So like you said, hot sauce and meat, that's pretty much the basic ingredients for having a nice pizza. For me anyway, that is.
I line the sound in Samuel's ceremony of apposites. I'll eat pretty much anything, but I like anchovies, mushrooms, and banana peppers.
Banana peppers, I'm not sure if I have had them.
早々に話をした方が良さそうじゃ。
But yeah, basically I would just go with something like pepperoni and jalapeno, hot sauce. That would be the starting point. I sometimes had too many toppings on one pizza. That's the kind of a, my style, or in a way, very Finnish style. What I learned, I remember from, United States, especially like I was in New York at the time, that they had only like 1 or 2 toppings per pizza. And in Finland, it's not uncommon to have something like 3, 4, 5 even. Heck, sometimes even more. So, yeah, American pizza was surprisingly poor, if you can call it that. So I'm thinking maybe it's a little bit of a Finnish thing to have so much.
In hockey fucking hate Tampere. The rule still holds true. Been on a filthy kick lately with goat semen, Valhalla bound and the like, and of course there was a Rauta reviews and
Well, I hope that my reviews were useful. That's at least supposed to be the point of all that stuff.
Didn't check if there's Go Vulva content on the channel.
There's no Gold Vulva stuff on the channel, I'm afraid.
I like them. I read and watch reviews before and after the fact.
Well, thank you, Markus. That's nice to know. So anyway, about Samael, the funny thing is, the first time I heard Samael, it was late '96. So first Samael I heard was Passage. So how I learned about the band was something like getting this industrial thing. So at the time I didn't obviously know that Samael had been known for their early black metal stuff, like Ceremony of Opposites and whatever the other album is early on, because I started with Passage. Now I liked Passage, but when I learned more and more about black metal in the mid 90s, I'm talking about roughly 95, 97 here, it became evident to me that Samael stuff, it was okay, but not really my cup of tea. So I never ventured too much into that, and I didn't even check out, I think, after Passage. Maybe I checked out one album after that, and it was getting more into modern style and industrial style and all that stuff, which made me feel that it's definitely not the kind of stuff I'm into. So
You should him sounded decent way back when, but somehow lost track. Didn't thrash me enough, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, Marcus. That's the thing for me anyway. Too as well, I mean. So when I've been going back later on to some early Samael, I still feel it doesn't have the magic for me. It's not too many months ago when I reviewed, can't remember the name now, the one of the EPs that came, I think, between Passage and Toast, the second album. But I can't remember what the heck the EP, or I mean, I would have to check out. But it already had these ideas, you know, where it started getting a little bit industrial. And that's where, in my opinion, Samael turned into something different. So yeah, Samael never had magic thing for me, but at the same time I have to say they were there early on, and it's curious that all the places in the world, it's not Norway, it's not Sweden, well, apart from Bathory obviously, but it's Switzerland that was actually, you know, along with Greece, kind of leading the way. I mean, you had Celtic Frost and Samael already very early on in terms of black metal. So it was kind of curious, like, not only you have Celtic Frost, but also Samael to be there way before the Norwegian explosion or Swedish explosion in terms of black metal. It was kind of interesting to learn that. Obviously, I didn't know it back in the days. I'm talking about 93, 94, when I was reading about black metal and stuff, you know, learning the Norwegian bands. Obviously, I didn't know about, you know, Celtic Frost or Samael and all that stuff. I knew Bathory, but I didn't know Bathory's importance back in the day. Well, Freedom Frog, that's because there are not that many, but I have reviewed quite a lot of Swiss black metal over the years. And you can find quite many Swiss black metal reviews on my review list, the one that is public. You can go to Rauta's Linktree site and click the Google sheet where it says Jerry's Imperium and Rauta reviews, which also lists all the interviews. So there you will see there are actually quite a bit of Swiss stuff that I've reviewed, but a lot of those Swiss bands are of later era, so they don't really have anything to do with the early works, like with Samael and Celtic Frost. So it's like totally, entirely different wave of Swiss black metal.
I will certainly watch those. Thanks, man.
Hey, glad to be of help if I can. So from pizzas to Samael, we already have it figured out for today. What the hell? That was kind of a shinobi thing to do. Have a smoke bomb and then vanish. Pretty odd if you ask me, because I was expecting some kind of a servant.
I started playing Skyrim again recently. It's a good one.
Skyrim is good, but to me it pales so much in comparison to World of Warcraft.
New Zealand, not a gamer, just stopping by to say hello.
Hello, Bretha, and nice that you came along to even greet. While obviously this is about gaming, you know, all topics are totally fine. So it doesn't matter if you're not into gaming, you can just still shoot shit with us, talk and ask questions or just comment random stuff. So it doesn't matter if you don't game yourself. Hi, Black Widow, how are you doing? Nice to have you here as well. I always tend to say with these streams, sometimes, however, I forget it, but yeah, indeed, if you're new to Rauta's gaming streams, don't stress about too much about the gaming, because as these veteran visitors, veteran guests, they already know in these streams, it's equally about talking about metal-related stuff, or pizza and beer for that matter, as it is about gaming. So it doesn't matter even if you don't watch it, you can still participate in the conversations and just ask random questions or comment, like, I don't know, your favorite albums, whatever. Like, no topics are off the board, so to speak. So just join the fray and now I encountered a weird conversation in the game. These guys are talking about noodles. So yeah, anyway, still talking about Swiss scene, I always find it fascinating. Hello, Jukka Vaskainen. I always find the Swiss black metal scene a little bit curious because, like I said, it's not about just Celtic Frost, it's not about Samael, and it's not really a country that is known for, you know, a lot of other, you know, extreme metal styles. Like, if you compare Switzerland to, say, Sweden, it's just outright weird because Sweden had strong death metal scene, obviously strong metal scene in general when you talk about, you know, melodic death metal or black metal. Sweden basically has it all. Maybe not so many thrash bands, but still. And then you suddenly have Switzerland, which is like barely even, you know, barely even recognizable, you know, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does. Okay, I killed these two motherfuckers and they were having this quest color, but nothing indicates anything. So anyway, yeah, Switzerland is definitely one different kind of a breed in so many ways. But that's the beauty of, in my opinion, you know, with all the metal scenes, that you never know what kind of a scene might lie underneath the very surface until you start digging. Well, J Killers,
Finland and Norway are blessed with excellent artists.
Yeah, that's true. Freedom Frog. There are some really good bands in Sweden and Sweden and Finland as well as Norway. But yeah, about Immortal, I made the history video of Acral Necrosis. Can't say I know the band. I think I have heard the name, but no, I'm not really sure. Now, to answer the question about my favorite Immortal album, those who haven't seen my take on Norwegian black metal, which I already did maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago. Well, there I guess I mentioned pretty much my favorite Immortal albums and kind of gave the overall feeling what I really think about the band. But to answer that simple question, Pure Holocaust is definitely the #1 album for Immortal for me. I never liked Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism that much. Nowadays, I like it more than back in the days. Oh shit. But I mean, back in the days it felt like a little bit like, I don't know, just kind of a clumsy, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does, but... But later on I started, you know, liking those battery things on Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism a little bit more. But yeah, for my top 3 Immortal albums, the obvious top 2 would be Pure Holocaust and Battles in the North. Not only because I heard them when they were kind of a new and fresh, but it's just a craziness with the high tempo and frantic playing with, you know, Battles in the North. Whereas Pure Holocaust is just like having this perfect black metal sound, very evil, you know, vocal style. And definitely without Gal. I think actually Gal is like my least favorite Gorgoroth vocalist. You know, I definitely favor Hoth and Pest or anybody else in Gorgoroth. No, Gal is decent, definitely. He's good, but nowhere near my favorites. Especially the early works by Gorgoroth, they have like close to perfection when it comes to vocal style. Especially if I had to say like top 3 vocalists from, you know, Norwegian black metal scene, Hoth and Pest would be good candidates. Now, obviously, the number one would be Nocturno Calto, because in my opinion, he pretty much mastered what is, in my opinion, the perfect black metal vocals. But in addition to Nocturno Calto, like, I'm a big fan of Satur's vocal styles, especially the early days when he was really pronouncing the words in so kind of a grim fashion. You know, especially the way he pronounces certain Norwegian things and all. I mean, he's a good vocalist overall, and I'm not the biggest, you know, Satyricon fan. I mean, the early albums are super... What the fuck was that bird? But, you know, especially the vocals... Oh, it wasn't a bird, but a deer. So, now that's a very, very hard question, Black Widow. Because if I would list names without knowing what's gonna play, I don't know if they will. But first, I will get quickly through the vocal things. So, for me, you know, Nocturno Calto and Satyr are clearly the best, or the most important for me. But then it gets tricky. Would I go for a Bat style? Would I go for Pest or Hoth? I don't know. You know, lots of great vocalists, you know, in Norwegian black metal scene. So, kind of a tricky. But for Gorgoroth, yeah. Gal is good, but not as good as, you know, Pest or Hoth. But to answer Black Widow's question about which would be my top 3 bands to see in 2026, that's really hard because I haven't seen lots of, you know, good festival announcements so far. I say good because obviously I'm not going to places where there are no good bands for me. Now, personally, if I'm going to be on the gates 2026, as it seems like I might be going once again, even though the lineup isn't that great in my opinion this year, I was thinking that Terrestrial Hospice must be, you know, one of the highlight bands for me there, because they're so good on albums, and while they're technically speaking half Polish, you know, Inferno from Behemoth on drums, and Paimon, who is originally Polish, is doing the guitars and vocals, but lives in Bergen, Norway. He used to play, by the way, live in Gorgoroth, among other bands as well. So, Terrestrial Hospice is definitely, if you count it as a Norwegian band, one of the best Norwegian contemporary black metal acts. So seeing them live, because I vastly enjoy their albums and music in general, not to mention he's a great guy, that would be definitely one of those top 3 bands I want to see in year 2026. Now, at Inferno, there were some interesting lineup bands, but I can't remember out of the bat which was like, hey, I want to definitely see these bands over the others.
War Moon Lord and Old Man's Child now that Galder is back at it.
Yes, Freedom Frog, you definitely need to see Satanic War Master, War Moon Lord, and Old Man's Child if you haven't seen them. I've seen, obviously, Satanic War Master many times, War Moon Lord a couple of times as well. And what about the others?
Do you like
I mean,
Leaders 8?
I have never actually listened to Meleth. Most NSBM bands just bore the shit out of me, so I never bothered to check it out online. And as a lot of you people probably know, I am mostly my hands full with, review albums. So since Meleth albums never came for review, I never bothered to check them out because I wasn't that interested, to be honest. But about 2 other bands from 2026 I definitely want to see. It should be something that I haven't seen previously. And like I said, I don't really know what's going on. Obviously, I hope I magically could see Slayer once more. But they are technically speaking disbanded. So I don't know if it's possible. Now I'm going to the wrong direction as opposed to where I was supposed to go in the game. That doesn't matter. But I really have to think about it. My top 3 bands of 2026. Definitely something new if I can. Now is the meditative part of the game.
Slayer had great shows. My friend Brian is in a band called Shadows Fall. If you have heard of them, they're pretty good. Have you heard of T?
I don't think I have heard about that band. I'm talking about Slayer. I've seen Slayer many times over the decades, and it's still, the band that really gives me some of the biggest kicks ever. The first time I saw Slayer was like 1996, so quite late, but they didn't do.
Slayer's first 5 and the others.
But Slayer never did that much in Finland in the 80s. Not that I could have seen it. Sorry, not 1996, it was 1998 when Slayer played at Nummirock, and what a fantastic stuff it was. And obviously I do love all the Slayer albums. Though I'm not really a fan of, Show No Mercy. And I know it's shocking news for a lot of people who expect that everybody just fucking worships Show No Mercy. But Show No Mercy's problem for me is that it's too much that, pretty heavy metal influenced stuff versus, for example, when you listen to the songs of Live Undead, they are so much more grim and more violent. To Mariah's vocals are better in that sense, and overall it's more definitely thrashy as opposed to being, you know, pretty heavy metal like.
I like it, but fuck, I hate screaming in Myra.
Look, I'm stuck in this place I want to go to.
If you want, I'd recommend listening to The War Within by Shadows Fall. I think it's their best album. I think it actually won a few awards at.
Yeah, unfortunately my hands are pretty full with all the review stuff. So, as much as it would be nice to, you know, check out all that stuff, at the moment I'm really like, I don't even have the time. Yeah, I know it's a kind of a lame excuse, but it's because I want to make sure that I have all the Rauta content out in timely fashion. You know, it's, for me it's all about, you know, getting those reviews out that people send me, because they spend money on sending me LP, tapes, CDs. So obviously I want to give my time back, because they put their time and effort and money sending me the physical copies. And then people ask me, but what about when you're not at home? Like, then you're not definitely listening to, you know, those LP and CD and all that stuff, which is true. But that's exactly when I listen to those bands, like when I want to do retrospective videos. So that's pretty much how things go, if that makes sense. And yeah, as such, I have always my hands full of albums. So when I'm at home, when I'm working, you know, I'm listening to CDs, and I got a actually big box of.
I would send you an album at some point if you want.
Yeah, Freedom for sure. I just review everything I'm being sent. That's kind of a given. That's one of my you know, working principles, if that makes sense. That, you know, whatever people send me, I'm just gonna review it over time. But for example, what I was trying to say here is, hold on, I'm just trying to do stuff in the game as well. So what I was saying is that, let me see, I need to get out of here. Oh shit, that wasn't exactly very well planned jump. So what I was saying is that, you know, so when I'm at the gym, I try to, you know, focus on stuff that I'm not reviewing, but, you know, doing those retrospective stuff like mentioned. So that is the time when I dedicate my listening time to a lot of bands which I don't have the physical copies, for example, or I might have some, but it's all about, you know, getting those retrospective videos or history videos out. Or when I'm preparing for, you know, interviews, that's another thing when I actually listen to a lot of these. Fuck, I was going totally different direction where I was supposed to go. So that's another time when I really like to listen to some albums that are out of my review pile. I'll give you an example. When I was going to Greece and I knew I had this Necromantia interview coming out, obviously I wanted to remind myself, like, so how was the music of Necromantia? Because it's been years and years since my last time when I was listening to Necromantia stuff. So I went through all the albums prior to making the interview, and also when I was preparing for this Life Lover and Hypothermia interview, I listened to most of the stuff. I didn't have time for all albums, obviously. Um, and the same thing with, Nocturnal Depression. I gave a couple of albums. I mean, as much as I had time to listen to. And I listened to Thai Light as well. They don't have much stuff out, so that was relatively less time consuming. So what I'm saying here is I always have these weird retrospective or discography runs for a lot of bands when I'm preparing for interview or when I'm doing a retrospective or history series video. So that's really what takes my time when it comes to listening to music. So when people are, hey, can you just check out my latest demo? It's on Bandcamp. Or hey, can you check out my music on YouTube? I'm like, hey, thank you so much for these ideas, but I already have my hands full. So, and besides, I'm not doing reviews out of digital copies as long as I have the physical ones. Because like I mentioned, it would be so unfair to those fans who put their time and money, sending me physical copies. And if I would suddenly start reviewing something that someone just sent me a, Bandcamp or YouTube link, it would be unfair. I'm thinking it because some people just might send me an album, from the other side of the world. Say someone from Australia or Brazil decides to put a lot of money into shipping and, send me say a vinyl. It would be very unfair if I would be like, hey, I would, instead of this vinyl I am listening to, so instead of, this vinyl, I'm gonna just listen to some shit on, YouTube. So for me, it's all about, being fair as possible.
城での覚えがめでたくなるよう何か買うてやりたいのじゃが年貢を納めたばかりで米がもう残っておらん娘を案じるわしに少し恵んではくれんか
Perfectly fair. You don't have to do reviews, but there are some bands I'd like to share just to do it. I send people music frequently. It's...
Yeah, Freedom Frog. Totally. And I don't mind, of course, being sent some music from new links. Like sometimes, for example, today I was supposed to listen to an album on Spotify. It wasn't there. So instead I decided to check out this new Malefic Throne album, even though it hasn't been sent to me, because it has, my favorite drummer of all time, John Longstreth. So I figured out, like, hey, while at the gym and I can't find this one album, instead I could check out the Malefic Throne, because I also need to compose my top 10 list for 2025. So at least there was a justification for that. And I pretty much have enough music being listened through to do the next episode of Finnish black metal history. So a couple of more Utgard albums, and I can make the next episode for about Finnish black metal. And now we're really starting to talk about the underground names. Oh, thank you, Black Widow. It's my pleasure to talk about these forgotten, less known names. Obviously, I had to start with the bigger ones, like, Beheaded Archgoat, Satanic Warmaster, Horna, blah blah blah, which everybody knows. But I don't ever assume that people know all these bands. But there are always some new teenager like, hey, I don't know any Finnish black metal bands. Can you tell me something about it? So much like the
Hey Satanic. Hey
Hello
Super
Satanic,
Mackie.
Hello Satanic Machine. So as always, I'm assuming there's people who don't know anything about it, and those history series are supposed to help these people out as well. That also why I started the Norwegian black metal series with the biggest names, or actually the early birds, like
What's up, Freedom Frog and Marcus?
like Dark Throne and Mayhem and Burzum, and then moving on to the bigger bands like Satyricon, Dimmu Borgir, and so forth. And only after the initial episodes, which were more focused on the bigger bands, I started to do more in the underground ones. And it was very fruitful to do that Norwegian black metal series because it kind of also made me go through a lot of those albums which I hadn't been listening to for a lot of years. Some in some cases even for decades. And now when I'm doing the similar thing with the Finnish black metal series, it's very cool because I'm actually listening to albums that I haven't been listening to a long time, and of course even some albums I never listened to. So it's also kind of how to say it's also like I learn new things.
Sacrilege, Trouble, The Devil's Blood, Heavy Load, Hyrax, Vomiter, and Omen. Those were the bands that Fenris recommended. At Satan IP8 Mocking Z5 Pence Valhalla Bound, solid soundtrack for the day. You.
Well, that sounds like a decent thing.
Norwegian black metal loses its triviality after some bands become mainstream.
Well, mainstream and mainstream. You know what is funny that even if we talk in metal terms, none of the black metal bands are really mainstream. I mean, they are still small bands if you compare to say.
And I've discovered some new bands as well.
Glad to hear that, Black Widow. So talking about even the biggest Norwegian, black metal names, they are still small compared to bands like, Iron Maiden or Metallica or Rammstein and all that stuff. So what seems to us to be, mainstream, like, Dimmu Borgir or Behemoth or whatever, they are still virtually unknown bands to, those who don't follow underground music at all. I mean, for underground bands, I'm not saying they are really underground either, and that's the funny part, because most of the bands in metal music, well, most big ones that is, they are between the underground and mainstream. They are not big enough to be mainstream, but they are not really underground acts. I'm talking about bands like, Behemoth and such. So sure, they're way too big to be, underground names. That's why they can have their own tours. Well, Dark Throne is a very good example of this, what I call.
Sound like there's something wrong with the equipment. I don't want to hear it. I honestly don't mind the so-called mainstream stuff. I love Dimmu Borgir and Behemoth. I bought Pandemonic Incantations after watching your.
Yeah, so many comments parallel to one another, trying to comment them one by one. So what I was saying is that I would say a lot of those bands are so-called gray zone, and this gray zone is, between what is, mainstream, and then we are talking about really the Iron Maidens and Metallicas, stuff like that, the real big ones. And these gray zone bands are kind of a bands which can, you know, have their own tours and stuff like that. But they that might not even, you know, live on their music, meaning they do need have their own day jobs. So that's kind of the hilarious thing when people are like saying, "Oh, that band is so mainstream, they sell out," and I'm like, you realize that they still have to do, you know, normal work because their band is not big enough to, you know, cover their, you know, bills. You know, I mean, it's one thing to be, you know, the cradle of field size, where you can say, yeah, you can live on the music as long as you tour enough and shit like that. But there are lots of these bands which are relatively, you know, big, but they are still not, you know, big enough to, you know, not to make these bands to have their, you know, day jobs. If my talk is a little bit sporadic, it's because I'm trying to survive in this game and not die. So try to bear with me, despite of me being a little bit clumsy here while I talk and game. So it's funny actually how many bands are not big enough, you know, in order to be these people's jobs.
I apologize for that.
No need to apologize, Freedom Frog. It's just me trying to explain why I might be a little bit like, what I'm saying here is, you know, the kind of stuff. Fuck, I need to be going in 20 minutes. Time really flies when I'm having good time with you people, you know, while enjoying the game and talking to you. I was thinking, oh, I barely played some 30 minutes out of the, I don't know, 80, 90 minutes what I was expecting. But now it's already like I need to be in bed in about 20 minutes in order to get some roughly 8 hours of sleep. Anyhow, my point here is I often laugh to myself when people are, oh, that band is so sell out, they are so mainstream and all that stuff, and I'm like, you realize they still need day jobs. So much about selling out. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to, you know, laugh a lot of these bands and, you know, mock them for their foolishness or, you know, being just kind of a sellout sounding bands. I mean, I get it. But in the end, a lot of those bands are really kind of not exactly starving, but it's not like they can live on the music. Live off the music, I guess, is the right way to put it. So, even if we consider certain bands to be big in terms of metal, they're not really big in terms of music. And that is, in a way, very comforting, because it's not like I hate that, you know, bands live off their music. But I mean, that kind of proves that I don't have a favorite amp brand because I don't really play guitar. I'm just a vocalist dude mostly. So what I'm saying is that because metal is not, you know, doing that well money-wise, in a way I feel that's making metal music more kind of a rebellious, if that makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but what I'm saying here is when it's not, you know, the big money business stuff, it kind of proves, to me anyway, I do have a couple of Jackson guitars, you know, on the background. That's very true. But I'm still mostly, first and foremost, I'm a vocalist guy. so I don't play guitar a lot. I do music for Annihilatus, but I still say I'm like the crappiest. I'm the crappiest guitarist from the Finnish black metal scene to have recorded an album. I mean, I'm not really a good guitar player at all, which I think a lot of people know. Yeah, I agree with you, Black Widow. That's really what I mean. Like, metal was rebellious, and despite of some, some successful bands, I think metal is still very rebellious by the very nature.
Nice.
And that's what I, like in metal music.
I think the guitar was more than acceptable. Great vocals. Me too.
Thank you, Freedom Frog. I'm glad to hear. But yeah, even though I play guitar every now and then, I don't have a favorite brand. Not in guitars, not in amps. So I'm just like, I'm very punk in that sense. My mindset is very punky when it comes to playing guitar and shit.
Did you make the donation?
What do you mean, mid the donation? I am not sure if I follow you. I mean, what do you mean?
Limited Arrow is pretty great one.
Did I miss which donation? What are you talking about? What donation are you?
It's no big deal. From Freedom Frog 5.
Oh yeah, I don't get the notifications here. Sorry, because it's this PlayStation screen. I don't get all the notifications. I don't even see sometimes the comments full, especially if you write longer ones. So sorry for that, but thank you, Freedom Frog. Freedom Frog has actually donated some money previously as well in some videos, which I'm very thankful. So very much supporting the channel. I'm console gaming, playing on PlayStation 5. I mean, if I would be playing on PC, I would then use my camera to camera on the streams as well. So the reason is not I'm like, hiding my face, because what would be the point? Everybody already knows how I look. But it's the reason why I don't show myself in the streams is that I don't have the PlayStation camera, so I cannot really share you know, my face for that reason. But I have actually downloaded a couple of old games for my PC.
That's awesome, killers.
So I might be streaming from PC later on. But I don't really like to play on PC these days that much. So that's
great.
So that is the reason why I don't stream on PC. My PC is actually quite old already, so that's another great excuse. But like I said, I have some couple of old favorite games which I recently got through Good Old Games, if you know the service. I'm just killing everybody here like a fucking serial killer. So when I will, play on PC and stream it, I will obviously add my camera to it. I don't know why would anybody care to see my face when I'm gaming, but yeah, let's just add it to the whole thing.
And the PC upgrade is so expensive because his RAM prices went up like 100% overnight.
Yeah, I noticed those memory price upgrade news. But I haven't been really into PC gaming for a lot of years these days. Basically, when I stopped, playing World of Warcraft, I pretty much gave up with the, PC gaming. Partially because I just like my big ass, screen here, but also because it's so much more relaxing to sit on my recliner, and a lot of games that I like to play are not really even available on PC. I mean, Assassin's Creed for sure would be, but
GB RAM is like 700 euros. No, couple days ago it was 290.
That's crazy. But those prices, holy shit, I almost died because of it. Okay, now there are way too many enemies for my liking. So fuck off. Oh no, now they made the alarm going on. I haven't had these for a long time in the game, but now I failed it. This means I will be haunted for the area until I can manage to change the season.
Console, the gameplay also been great. In PC it's a little bit complicated since the keyboard thing.
Yeah, I don't like to play with keyboard. I mean, I grew up with PC gaming. Before PC I played on home computers like Commodore 64 and stuff like that, but my point here is I played with PC so many years, so I mean, I'm not really a stranger to playing on PC. But like I said, I kind of got bored with that stuff. In fact, there are so many cards right now because I managed to get the wanted status. Guess I should have been more focused on the game instead of just talking to you guys. I blame it on you. Oh, I'm joking. I'm just here to get the loot box and then I can pretty much... Then I can just fuck off from this area.
I'm going to the range to use up some old carry ammo. Have a great day or night depending on your locations. Always a pleasure. My bag rolling on
Hello,
the
Freedom Frog, and nice to have you here.
rolling on the floor laughing.
I should be back for another lengthier stream tomorrow when I don't have, you know, any kind of a timeline to hit the sack.
Yes, Sipho's chameleon would be so cool, but they all I can find have chips and things.
So many goddamn enemies here. And all I wanted was to get that fucking box.
I'll try to be there. Take care, all.
Yep, hopefully see you tomorrow again.
Team Frog.
Yeah, enjoy your evening, Frog.
Stay heavy, Freedom Frog.
Yeah, stay heavy, stay metal. Anyway, I should be gone within a few minutes. I'm just gonna try to...
Marcus, what impaled Nazarene album should I get?
Suomi Finland perkele, of course. Not that you asked me, but I decided to answer it anyway. Okay, and now I'm also out of these rations. Luckily I got the box, so I can just fuck off this area and leave the castle. Thanks for popping in, Black Widow, and catch you later, I guess. Alright, this is my cue to also piss off.
Surely you got Uber karma?
And yeah, I should be back here, you know, tomorrow evening for another game stream, and like I said, it's gonna be a little bit longer one. Anyway, people, now I'm gonna tell you good night and have a great Friday. Alright, good night and adios, like we say here in Spain. I'm not in Spain, but you get the idea. Alright, good night and bye bye.